Hey guys, this is Luke Havard, and I'm here today with Mike from BookedIn. Mike's one of my clients, and we've been working together, helping him to grow BookedIn and fix some of the challenges he was experiencing and help him to scale the business. So before we get into the meat of this conversation today, Mike, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and what you do in life, and a little bit about BookedIn, and then we'll jump in.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Luke. Well, I'm Mike Iwasiow. I was born in Poland. My family immigrated to Canada when I was young, and sort of always had the entrepreneurial blood. It kind of goes back generations, so it was inevitable that I would run a business at some point. So here I am. Yeah. I've got two kids, very busy, obviously, with that. I do some jujitsu as much time as I can devote to that, and try to stay really healthy and, maintain energy for running a business, which is very draining. So that's a big focus. Yeah. And I mean, BookedIn was my second go at a product company. The first time around, I sort of thought I scratched the itch. I was doing custom software development, had a business doing that for quite a while, and was quite interested in doing product. So I tried that, and then realized very quickly that there's a lot to building a product and a product company. And I sort of exited out of that. Early on, I didn't sort of get along with the founders there, and moved on. And I thought I'd scratched the itch, and thought, I'm happy to just keep, running my custom software development business. And then very quickly, that wasn't enough. I wanted to get right back at building product. So then the idea for BookedIn came around. It actually came from a friend of mine who runs a massage therapy business, and he wanted a kind of a CRM tool almost. This is over a decade ago. I was kind of too busy at the time and doing custom software development. He didn't have the money to really pay me, so kind of, let it simmer. And then as a consumer of services, I began to be aware of all the incredible inefficiencies of just simple things like booking an appointment, how painful it was sometimes. I mean, you had to wait until the office was open, and a lot of these places are very small. They don't have receptionists. They don't have, so you're leaving voicemails. You're hoping they get back to you, and half the time you don't end up booking with them because they don't get back to you. And then if you got to cancel, it's a gong show. And then one time I remember I came in for a chiropractor appointment. They lost all my appointments because their computer crashed, and it's just so many. And I just kind of thought, this is crazy. We've got we've built technologies that can, move planets, but we can't manage appointments, so that's basically the problem I set out to solve. I was quite adamant about bootstrapping, given my experience with the previous product company. I didn't want the stress of dealing with founders, co-founders that sort of I didn't get along with. If I had known ones that were a no-brainer to start with, I would have done that. I'm not like dead set against, but yeah. So I kind of went solo, and I had a custom software development business to start to fund it. So I went with that, and yeah, I didn't want kind of investors. I think, I'm not sure I thought of it at the time exactly this way, but I think in retrospect, I was fine building things kind of slowly. And the main thing was our first child was born at the beginning, and I really wanted to make sure I had time to devote to those early years with my children. So I didn't want to bring on investors, because inevitably they will push you hard to go fast and make a lot of money fast, because that's what they do, and it's understandable. So, yeah.
What year was that?
So I would say around 2010 is when I started working on BookedIn, the idea. I did doing market research and all of that. And then I think around late of 2000 or 2011, we had started built the first version, and so on and went. So
very good. So what were the challenges that you were experiencing when, before we started working together? What was going on for you?
Yeah, it's really the challenges of being a solo founder. At the end of the day, was it was really weighing. I'm the only one to make the high decisions. I didn't have to share that responsibility with anyone, and um, so we were struggling. I don't come from a sales and marketing background necessarily, so marketing a product, a software as a service product, was always been a massive challenge for me. A lot of learning. So I think I got to a point where I really wanted some mentoring, professional to help cut the learning curve. I didn't want to take another 10 years to get to the next level, so I wanted to start to speed things up. Yeah, we were making a little bit of money, so let's invest in that. Specifically, we were looking for help to validate our current strategy and direction that we had been working on, and you're always kind of unsure, so it's really good to get validation on that, and someone to check in on a regular basis, debate key strategy decisions, review progress, and be accountable. For me, otherwise I have no one to be accountable to, so that's a problem long term. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's the whole, when you're in the forest, it's hard to see the wood from the trees. You're so in it that you're living and breathing it all day long, and you just miss things that are not so obvious to you when you're there. And so, was that something that you found you're often challenged by, that you just couldn't sort of see like which move to make next?
Yeah, bang on. That's exactly it. You're working in the business a lot. You've got kids. I'm 40, almost 48. So there's a lot of work in maintaining my energy and my health. I can't get away with the things I got away with when I was 20. So there's little time, and yeah, you're having to still spend a lot of it in the business. And so yeah, exactly. It's difficult to see things, and even when you do see them, you go back down to the level in being in the trees, and then you kind of lose sight of them. So it's really nice to have someone who all they do is look at the forest and continually remind you and go, well, yeah, but you're headed here, you want to head here. So, oh yeah, right, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and I think we all have different tool sets and skill sets, and I think one of my tool sets and skill sets is bringing an axe. So when you're in that forest, some people are planting and some people are cutting things down, and sometimes it's hard to think, okay, well, which thing should I be focused on? And you just need someone to say, just pull all those things out, they shouldn't be there, or that's not, that works for some businesses but not probably your business, so let's not focus on doing that. So what made you decide to work with me, Mike? Well, I mean, obviously we kind of spoken before we started working together, but what was it that kind of what clinched it for you?
It's your beard.
Well, I have been working really hard on it, so I can't blame you for that. Maybe also.
When I saw that beard, that is my man. No, well, we've had a relationship for a couple of years. Sort of very casually. So it's I kind of got to get a feel for who you are through that a little bit. And then I had the need for a mentor was just really pressing on me, and you had come forward and said, hey, this is what I do, and so when we sort of, Leanne, or my partner and my significant partner in the business, my partner in crime, and I reviewed you, so to speak. I think the things that really stood out was you had definitely, a lot of breadth of experience. So you have experience building businesses. You've done what we are doing yourself. you've worked with many entrepreneurs. You understand how to build value. And I think the clincher for me was your diverse background and life experience. When I looked at your LinkedIn resume and saw all the volunteering, you really seem to care about people and want to improve the life of people, not just business, on entrepreneurs. That to me was really important, and told me that you're not sort of all about the money, and so yeah, that's why.
Yeah, it's interesting actually you say that, because that was one of the key values I picked up from you when I first had the conversation with you. Like, something that's really big for you is the customer. And it sounds obvious, it should be the customer because they're the people who kind of fund everything. But ultimately you hear quite oftentimes, the kind of area that a lot of, I think, SaaS companies and all companies really fail in is, I think, fulfillment and customer service, customer success. And for you, something that's always been like of top priority is obviously the product. But also I think for you was, well, how do we kind of solve the issues of like customers, not being satisfied or customers churning? And I think you guys have done a pretty good job of not, of customers not churning, but it's a challenge for every SaaS founder, isn't it? So that was something I really picked up on. And yeah, it's, that's a core value for me too, that customers really get a lot of value from what's happening in the transaction. So yeah, I think that's probably.
I think everything it's all about connection, right? Connection between your customers, building a true connection. I mean, whether it's your friends or your family or your customers or your business coach, it just comes down to connection. So for me, I felt a connection with you, and that was the, the clincher.
Yeah, there was good rapport. We started talking about, I think, jiu-jitsu and MMA and supplements,
right.
and that was it. It's been an hour. So when we started working together, obviously we know where you were. I really want to kind of dig into what we worked on specifically and what have been the outcomes and the results that you've been able to achieve.
Sure. Yeah. I think, initially just top to bottom, I mean, you very thoroughly went through, how to build value in your business. And that was, I mean, some of which I was aware of, but as a package, I didn't really have a concise understanding of what, how investors look at, the value of a company. The understanding that a company that's valuable to investors is also very enjoyable to run as a founder. So your decision to exit or whatever is kind of a separate thing. But both ends are met if the business, is successful, and if it's successful and run well, it's valuable.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you really helped to build into my head what needs to be there in order for that value to be visible. So that was huge for me, and that's something that will probably act as a guide for many years. Some of the pieces, we're still kind of grow slowly. We're trying to speed it up, but so some of the pieces we may not sort of really get to for a little bit, but still now I know what needs to be there. I think a lot of guidance on the sales and marketing side of things was great. I mean, that seems to really be an area that you specialize in, so to speak. I believe you've grown your own businesses in that area. So that was big. You definitely came in and you worked with my partner on the sales and marketing side and had helped, I think, quite a bit in kind of honing our customer acquisition strategy, and just kind of vetting through the ideas that are good fit for us, and make sense for the type of product we have and the company we have versus the ones that just are a waste of time. That was very valuable, like you say, the axe. teaching us how to communicate with one another. There's some personality challenges on our team. I think is very helpful for me, and I know for Leanne as well. She spoke about that really helped to you helped us understand each other and how to communicate better with one another. That was big. And the vision document, that was huge. I sort of, when you threw that challenge at me, I was kind of like, okay, sure, I'll get to that. But it was quite challenging to go through and kind of annoying. I was frustrated going through, like I don't know, and then I thought, yeah, I don't know. This is a problem. So, I just really going through that, and we've now gone through it with our team a few times. We sort of made very minor adjustments, but it's big. It's been super helpful, big for me. It's been helpful for my team. Yeah, just to get a better charted course. Everybody understands where we're going,
I like the word charted, because it's almost like building a business, building a life is like this uncharted journey, unless you have some kind of a map or a blueprint that you're going to follow. And I think there's kind of two maps that we work with. It's like, one, what's your vision for the company, or like, where do you want this to go? You've kind of got the long-term vision. So do you want to build this company to sell it, or do you want to build this company so you can spend more time doing other things, which is, the ultimate dream, I suppose, for a lot of people, to have more time freedom. And then the other map is, okay, well, what are we going to do in the next 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months? Because I think for a lot of companies now, especially, coronavirus is a great example of this, of the time of this recording, that you just can't foresee what's going to happen 6 months from now. And, you've got to have, very short, clear, concise, vision and strategy to actually execute that. And so being able to kind of understand what all the components are in terms of building your business, scaling, and then, creating the value to potentially exit or do other things is really key, but also having the short-term ability to just, pivot quickly and change things in the moment.
Yeah, it's always a balancing act, right? And there isn't sort of a ironclad formula. But yeah, you just need a good team and good people around you to help you sort of navigate those challenges. And I think that's exactly what you brought. And one thing I just remembered too is you have a connection to a lot of entrepreneurs, and I know there were times when we would talk about challenges, this or that, and you would check in with your entrepreneur group about certain things. So, and kind of give us feedback on what others are doing, what others think, so to speak. That's huge value. That was very reassuring for me, that you're not just pulling it out of a blog or, a book you just read last night. So yeah, that was good.
Yeah, and I think I like the fact you also mentioned the kind of soft skills aspect, because I think a lot of times that's not really marketed as like the cool, sexy, tactical, things that you can implement right now. But it's the things that kind of, if you don't get it right, the wheels fall off the bus, right? And it is the thing that, that's why there's so much on leadership. That's why there's, I don't know, thousands of leadership books, because it's so hard. And like brilliant, smart people can still struggle to kind of communicate, even though they're speaking the exact same language, even though they've known each other for 10 years. And it's an anomaly of life, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's a challenge.
And would you say that in that area, things have improved?
In
the area of communication?
Yeah, absolutely. It's especially between Leanne and myself. We were the ones that sort of bore the biggest brunt of all those challenges. And when things got sort of quite stressful, our personality differences became difficult to navigate. And you helped us sort of point out how to do that better, maybe taught us a little bit about who we are to better understand why some of the miscommunications happen, and that's been big. That was a huge value. You're a really good listener. That's the other thing that was really helpful, is to be able to have you listen in and chime in sort of at the right moments. You're compassionate as well. So for me, that was, you're always coming at it from that angle. You're not like, well, I don't care if it doesn't feel, how you feel, you got to get this done type of thing. Right. So, you have a good mix, good balance there.
No, I'm glad to hear that. How's like things in terms of growth? Where's the growth now compared to where it was before we started working together?
Yeah, our growth is definitely accelerated. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me here, but we were definitely sort of on a more of a flatlining, and we were growing before, but it was more kind of flatlining trend. And since working with you, it's definitely started to climb quite rapidly again, which has been fantastic. And I think what's more exciting is we've just begun sort of implementing and getting into a lot of the things that you had coached us on doing. So I'm extremely excited about where growth is going to go over the next year.
Yeah, because one of the key things that I think had been a challenge, and it's difficult for every founder because there's people out there saying, hey, this is the key, magic strategy you need to focus on, or this one is. And, I think you'd mentioned that in the past you'd looked at doing or had started doing paid acquisition to drive new customers. And for whatever reason, you decided you weren't sure you wanted to continue doing that, and realized, that had been a bit of a challenge because things hadn't, continued growing. So that was one of the things we worked on. And now it's like, okay, you've got your, your organic inbound leads coming in, which is great. And, that's continuing to grow with SEO and content and various other things. But we've also worked on, paid acquisition strategy that potentially could really kind of help you to really scale significantly in the next 12 months or 18 months.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you sort of connected us with a very valuable marketing resource that we are utilizing. So that was big. And the kind of the fit of, how and where to use paid placement versus organic, and how much to invest in this or that was a struggle for us. Like you mentioned, we had sort of, I think it was the decisions that we had made in the past were sort of just, an example of our inexperience. We sort of went all in on one, and then we kind of went, we don't want to do that. And we just kind of shifted it all to the other, and then things fell flat. And then it was kind of like, now we're kind of in a hybrid, and there's a lot of just very expensive guesswork.
And I think if other people that you might know someone in, I don't know, in an office next to you, or, maybe there's some friends you have in the industry, and people give you they give you sort of well-meaning advice, but it can sometimes be completely wrong.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to know who to listen to and who to kind of take advice from, or just say, no, that's great, thanks, but I'll ignore that advice.
Yeah. Well, especially if you don't really know their background and you don't have sort of, a deeper relationship with them. Because I think there's a lot of people that write books that have marketed themselves really successfully as experts in areas that they really just learned off of reading other people's books, so, and that's fine. And that could still be very valuable. But for me, I find people with true experience can navigate the things that, well, I know the theory is this, but given your particular scenario, that theory won't fit. You need experience to know that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you help with. And one last thing, organizational deficiencies as well. You really helped to point out where holes are and what we need to fill. And that, for me specifically, that was really big, because that's stress that I carry sort of into my bed and into my sleep, thinking, we seem to be struggling here. Is it just a lack of skill set, or is it that we're, so knowing that, yeah, we do have a lack of skill sets in certain areas, and those are things that just need to be, filled in with hires, versus things that, no, you guys have the skill set, you just need to hone your strategy. Knowing the difference between those two things was big for me.
Yeah, it's really valuable, isn't it? Knowing, okay, do we hire someone internally for this right now, or do we hire in, say, a contractor, and then build out a system and a process, and then at a later date build a team around this?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how do you do it without, wasting another 2 years of and a whole pile of money doing it the wrong way, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what would you tell other, if you were talking to, say, some other founders and CEOs in the software space or any other business space, what would you say to them that, if they were considering, getting a coach, or they were, I think, experiencing similar challenges to the challenges that you'd experienced?
I would say do it, get a coach, for sure. And especially one with a great beard.
Well, it's a prerequisite for genius, of course,
I think, it's just cutting the learning curve, I think there's a lot to be said for learning things, at a pace that you want to learn them at, but to recognize that, well, a lot of your struggles are just going to be a sheer and simple fact that you don't have experience. So how much do you want to struggle with that? Do you want to, and then there's no right answer. Eliminating all the struggle is going to make you just as miserable as having too much struggle. So you sort of need that balance, right? And that's what I found is, like, I love learning things on my own, and that's been part of the most joyous part of this whole journey, is all the learning I get to do. But you get to certain points where you're like, I just don't want to learn this. I just want somebody to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And especially as you get sort of bigger and the needs of the organization and the company get bigger, you just got more things to deal with. And it's just certain areas that I just don't care to learn all by myself and take all that time and energy. So yeah, definitely, I would say get a coach. And I, in retrospect, probably should have done this quite a while ago. I sat on it for quite a while. I should have hired a coach earlier. So why didn't you call me earlier?
That's a good question.
Where were you, Luke?
Well, I was just, busy helping other people as well. But you know what's funny though? I remember when we first started talking together, and this is a common thing because we all do this. You said something along the lines of, I know I need this, but I think I'll put it off till maybe after summer. And I said to you, Mike, what's going to change in between now and summer if you don't do this now? And you were like, yeah, it's a good point. And I just said, look, you can either kind of keep putting this off again. It's like, asking a dentist, so how much is it, and they tell you and you say, wow, that's a lot. How long is this going to take? And you say, well, I can take 2 minutes, or I can take 2 days. It's your choice. And like you said there, you keep enduring certain challenges and pains, and you can just keep going around and around that mountain, or you can just figure out the solution to kind of resolving the issue right now and growing the business, and having more time, having less headaches, sleeping better at night. And yeah, it's true, isn't it? If people only knew that, hey, you don't need to go through that unless you want to. I mean, you can solve it.
Yeah, well, my hesitation and fear was, I'm already busy. I already have way too many things to handle. Now I'm going to get a coach, and he's going to add more stress because he's going to tell me to do this or that. He's going to give me like homework, and I don't need that stress right now. I got to wait until I have like more time to work with a coach. But that was kind of, totally flawed thinking. I realize now, because but that's why you're in this predicament. It's like, how much longer, like your example, how much longer are you going to wait, right? So yeah, absolutely. I would definitely say that. I think you need to be ready. If you're going to take on business coaching, you do have to be open and ready to take the advice, and act on the advice. So, I would say for us, you gave us so many great things. We weren't big enough to sort of move on those things fast enough. So we're hiring people and hoping to speed that up. You have a tremendous amount of things, and you really push the pace. So that's been great. That really energized us.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say this as a last thought. You guys, really ran with it and have executed, and that's the key for me. Really, is I can only work with people who are willing to actually take action and are ready to scale. And I think some people, they just don't want to grow. They're happy where they are. But that almost is, I think that's a handicap in a sense, because if you're the kind of one doing all of the kind of grunt work, or you're just a small team, you're always going to be capped. And at some point, if you want to step out of the business, you can't. You're handcuffed to it. So I think all the things that we've been working on now is slowly going to give you more and more autonomy, and also whilst growing the business. And so you can help more people. The business will make more money, and you'll get to have more time to think about what you want to do with your life and what it is you're here to do, really, because it's more than just business, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think there is a speed of growth that's right. It all depends on who you are and what point of life you're at, and so to speak. There's times when you just want to go hard, and and have the space to do that, and there's times where you want to sort of coast a little bit. But I think for me, it was one of the realizations I've had through working with you was you kind of, there was a little bit of bullshit from my perspective in terms of why I thought I wanted to move at a slower pace, because I realized, no, that's actually causing me misery.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons, I think, I can't speak for all entrepreneurs, but I'm going to guess that a lot of what they rationalize, oh, well, I'm good with this pace, but it's just a way of rationalizing fear, because they're at a point and they fear what they need to do to keep growing into and it may not just be the fear of doing more, but it's the rules. It's there's the challenges, and they just fear that they're going to fail at those challenges, so they just don't address them. And then they rationalize it, they package it all up for themselves as, well, I am comfortable with this growth. But in the meantime, they're going to bed pissed off that their growth is flatlining and their business is not going anywhere. And it's not really great long-term for your team either, because it's tough to keep good people if your business ain't growing, So yeah, there's that too. So yeah.
Hey, Mike, really appreciate you taking the time today to have the convo and to share your experience of working together. Any last thoughts for anyone considering working with me?
Just do it. Don't hesitate. I would say.
Cool. I think that's a good thing to say.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Mike.
Thank you, Luke.